Welcome to SPIR STAR's online seminar series on waterjet. The topic of today's presentation is waterblasting hoses, manufacturing process until dispatch. My name is Andreas Hohmann and I'm in sales oil and gas. I start with a brief introduction of SPIR STAR and then continue with the actual topic. The presentation will be followed by a short question and answer session. During the presentations, you are welcome to ask questions via the chat function, which will be answered at the end or either by myself or a colleague. During a copy of all questions will be sent separately via email. Let's start with SPIR STAR from a different angle. The picture shows the headquarters of SPIR STAR in Rimbach. The headquarters combines the production, research and development, hose assembly department, as well as purchasing, sales and administration. SPIR STAR was officially founded in 1989, but the first hose was already produced in 1981. This means SPIR STAR now looks back to 40 years of experience in ultra-high pressure hose production. In 2000, the company headquarters was relocated to Rimbach and now covered 20,000 square meters. As of today, SPIR STAR employs 102 people in Germany and more than 160 people worldwide. Despite the corona-related pandemic, a turnover of 15 million could be achieved in 2020. In order to meet the worldwide demand for local service and product availability, SPIR STAR is represented worldwide with 3 additional independent companies and a subsidiary in France. These are only sales and assembly centers and do not produce any hose. This means every single meter of SPIR STAR hose is really made in Germany. Each SPIR STAR company in turn has its own certified distributors and assembly centers in its sales area to offer local availability and service. However, the production facility of high pressure hose is only located in Germany. SPIR STAR's core business since 1989 has been the production of thermoplastic ultra-high pressure hoses from approximately 250 to 4,000 bar, with inner diameters from 3 mm to 32 mm and temperature range from -70 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius. Depending on the inner diameter, the hoses can be manufactured in length up to 4,500 meters. Since 2013, the product portfolio has been continuously complemented with high-pressure valves, adapters, and tubing. The typical applications for SPIR STAR hoses are the following. The majority of hoses are being used in the water jetting industry. Typical applications are surface cleaning, concrete removal, heat exchanger or tube cleaning, and water jet cutting. For the oil and gas industry, SPIR STAR manufactures hoses, for example, for chemical injection, methanol service, but also for bundles and umbilicals or for pressure testing. In the hydraulic sector, the hoses are used in ultra-high pressure hydraulics, in test benches, as well as for boat tensioning or torque wrenching. In the automotive sector, the hoses are used, for example, for hot melt transfer, our KF series, or in diesel injection test systems. The hydrogen sector is a future market in which SPIR STAR sees great potential. SPIR STAR has already developed a fueling hose in 2009 in cooperation with an international automotive manufacturer. In the meantime, this fueling hose has been completely recertified according to the DIN ISO 19880-5 as the first hydrogen hose worldwide. In the following section, I will now get more into detail of the individual components of a hose or a hose assembly and which standards or recommendations apply. A high pressure hose consists of 3 components: the inner liner, the wire layers, and the outer cover. All SPIR STAR hoses are made of thermoplastics such as polyamide, or also known as nylon, polyoxymethylene, POM, and a thermoplastic polyurethane. The pressure support is made of spiralized high tensile steel wire. The working pressures up to 4,000 bar are achieved by the combination of the different materials as well as the number of wire layers. Besides that, the selection of the material also has an influence on the flexibility of a hose. The inner liner is the basis of every high-pressure hose and therefore the first step in hose production. It is made of either polyoxymethylene or polyamide. During production, the raw granule is melted and brought into a tube shape via an extruder and then fixed in a water bath under vacuum. SPIR STAR manufactures inner liners from 3 to 25 mm for waterjet hoses. The second step in hose production is the application of the high tensile steel wire layers, the so-called spiralization. During spiralization, at least 2 wire layers are wrapped around the inner liner simultaneously by using the spiralization disc as shown on the photo. These spiralization discs rotate around the hose, with one disc rotating clockwise and the other counterclockwise, so that the wire is applied crosswise. Depending on the application or working pressure of the hose, at least 2 layers or up to 8 layers of wire are applied. A drying phase for the auxiliary materials used during production must be observed between each production step, so that the production time depends on the number of wire layers and can be up to 22 to 24 weeks. The first step in hose production, the final step in hose production is the extrusion of the outer cover or sheath. Like the inner liner extrusion, the raw granule is melted in an extruder and then applied on the wire layers. The materials used are a polyamide or a thermoplastic polyurethane. During the extrusion, the hose signature is printed on the outer cover as well. Especially for pipe cleaning, the Duralife Flex outer cover was developed, which is made of a more abrasion-resistant polyamide. Another option of improving the abrasion resistance is the possibility of a second outer cover or the double cover. This is additionally extruded onto the actual outer cover and is usually made of a TPU, as a polyurethane has a lower melting point compared to polyamide. SPIR STAR offers different fitting types. These can be different connection or thread types, but also different materials. The selection of the fitting materials is made according to the application or the working pressures, and it's confirmed by tests. Available thread types are metric, BSP or UNF threads. There are external threads, but also internal thread fittings with swivel nuts. Special fittings for pipe cleaning are also available. As a rule, SPIR STAR hose fittings are multi-part and always consist of a sleeve and an insert, or in the case of a rotating internal thread fitting, an additional swivel nut. During assembly, the sleeve is placed on the end of the hose and the insert is pushed into the hose or the inner liner. Then the sleeve is crimped onto the hose so that a permanent connection of the fitting with the hose is achieved. This connection is verified by in-house testing at the appropriate working pressures. SPIR STAR manufactures and tests according to different standards, depending on the hose field of application. For the waterjet applications, the hoses are qualified according to the EN 1829-2. The leakage test is performed at 70% of the burst pressure. The change in length of the hose is measured at the working pressure and should not exceed plus or minus 2%. For a cold bend test, the hose is cooled down to -10 degrees for at least 24 hours and then bent to its minimum bend radius. After its removal, the hose is visually checked for damages. Afterwards, the test sample will be pressure tested at room temperature. In the burst pressure test, the hose is pressurized until its burst. The value reached should exceed the value specified on the datasheet. In the impulse test, the hose must achieve at least 20,000 impulse cycles at working pressure. The tensile test is performed either at the force equivalent of 1.5 times of the maximum working pressure or at 1 kilonewton, whichever is less. If all tests are passed successfully, the hose receives the SPIR STAR seal, the waterjet standard approved. In addition to these qualification tests, routine tests are performed during the production process. At the end of production of each hose batch, a burst pressure and leakage test are carried out, and the change in length of the hose is determined. In total, up to 8 burst pressure tests are carried out on an 8-layer hose. All these tests are carried out in the in-house test facility. SPIR STAR also offers hoses in accordance with the color coding recommendations of the WJTA. This color coding scheme was developed by the WJTA in 2011 and became effective in 2013. The idea is to provide a visual identification of the pressure rating of the hoses in order to avoid safety hazards. According to this color scheme, a blue hose would have an applicable maximum working pressure of up to 30,000 psi or 2068 bar. This color coding has the advantage that the hose can still be classified even if the marking on the outer cover or sleeve is no longer visible. This color coding is primarily used in the USA. For the assemblies of stop sleeve or marking rings, SPIR STAR follows the SEER specifications or guideline. The SEER is the foundation for industrial cleaning in the Benelux countries. The stop sleeves have the same dimensions in outer diameter and length as the actual sleeve and are intended to relieve the sleeve when it is caught by the hose catcher during automatic and semi-automatic pipe cleaning. The stop sleeves are mounted 50 mm behind the sleeve and are available for most 2- and 4-layer hoses. The marking rings are used in manual applications and should provide a visual indication to prevent accidental extraction of the flex lines. The marking ring is mounted at 500 mm behind the sleeve. The outer cover of all SPIR STAR hoses is printed with the manufacturer's name, SPIR STAR, the batch number, the hose type, and made in Germany at intervals of minimum 500 mm. According to EN 1829-2, the date of manufacture in the format of quarter and year, as well as the nominal hose size, have to be printed on the hose. The marking according to EN 1829-2 is already implemented on all hose types where the working pressure is mentioned in the hose name. For example, the 10 mm UHP-X 3035. In addition to that, the working pressure is printed on all hose types with 6 or more wire layers. The traceability is possible through this marking, but the hose marking only does not provide any information about the configuration of the hose assembly. In addition to the hose marking, the sleeves of the hose is marked during assembly. At least the manufacturer of the hose in the format of a name, an abbreviation or logo, the date of manufacture in the format month or year, as well as the production number of the hose and the actual hose working pressure of the hose must be marked. if the actual working pressure of the hose assembly is lower than the maximum working pressure of the hose, the reduced working pressure on the sleeve applies. In this case, the hose must be marked with an additional warning symbol according to the 1829-2. In addition, the EN 1829-2 standard should be signed. In addition to the minimum requirements, SPIR STAR marks a unique serial number. With this serial number, a hose assembly can be clearly identified. This serial number consists of the SPIR STAR order number, the position or line item number on the order, and the number of assemblies per position or line item. This SPIR STAR serial number can be used to determine the hose configuration and of this serial number can be used to determine the configuration of the hose assembly. In addition, it is possible to apply a customer signature, such as an order number or a customer part number. Hoses with a working pressure of less than 3000 bar have a minimum safety factor of 2.5 to 1, which corresponds to the burst pressure to working pressure ratio. For hoses with a working pressure of 3000 bar, 1 bar and above, this safety factor is reduced to 2.2 to 1. In some hose sleeves, there are so-called relief or weep holes. These are either drilled during assembly or already made during the sleeve production. The relief bore is intended to prevent a pressure buildup and a bursting of the sleeve in the event of a leakage at the fitting. After successful pressure testing, a safety label is attached to the hose. This label again points out the dangers of handling high-pressure hoses and provides information on the hose type, hose length, working pressure, serial number, and the date of manufacture. Before shipment, all hose assemblies are subject to a final proof pressure test. The hose is tested for leakage at 1.5 times its maximum working pressure for 30 seconds. For hose assemblies with a working pressure of 3001 bar and up, the maximum test pressure is reduced to 1 times the working pressure. If the proof pressure test is passed, the red safety label is printed and attached to the assembly. On request, a test certificate according to EN 10204-3.1 can be issued. Here, SPIR STAR offers individual certificates or collective certificates. No SPIR STAR assembly will be delivered without its final proof pressure test passed. Thank you for your attention, and let's move on to the question and answer session. The first question is, my colleagues in Brazil use your hose. Can we be sure that this hose was made in Germany? If purchased from an authorized SPIR STAR distributor, which for Brazil would be SPIR STAR USA, you could be sure that all hose is made by SPIR STAR in Germany. As explained before on the sleeve, every single meter of SPIR STAR hose is manufactured in Germany. Can I use your hoses with a lower security factor than 1.5 to 1? No. The minimum recommended safety factor for water jetting hoses and a working pressure less than 3000 bar is 2.5 to 1. With a working pressure above 3000 bar, this safety factor can be reduced to 2 to 1. For other applications such as hydraulics or gaseous media, higher safety factors may apply. Can we order hose in different color than in catalog? As said before, SPIR STAR offers hoses in different colors or in colors according to the WJTA color coding scheme. Besides that, for certain minimum order quantities, special or colors or other colors can be realized. Just get in touch with the sales department. Are all hoses certified according to the EN 1829-2? No, not yet all hoses or hose types have been qualified to the standard, because some of the hose types are solely used for hydraulic applications. But we still qualify more and more hoses to the standard. And every qualified hose is being labeled in the catalog with the SPIR STAR approved logo. Do you have a hose to clean a tube with ID 8 mm over heat exchanger, pressure up to 1000 bar? Depending on the outer diameter, we sure have hose types with a outer diameter of the sleeve smaller 8 mm. Just have a look at the catalog, please. Are your oil and gas hoses produced to 1829-2? No, SPIR STAR manufactures all oil and gas hoses to a different standard. Can I get a WJTA color too? I'm working in Sweden. Please get in contact with us. We see what colors we have in stock and surely can make you an offer. Do you have medium pressure fittings? Yes, SPIR STAR offers medium pressure fittings, standard to connect with gland nut and collar, or we also offer special medium pressure fittings suitable to, for pipe cleaning with a shorter design going directly into cleaning nozzles without the use or the need of a collar and a gland nut. Is a proof pressure test really needed? Yes, SPIR STAR only delivers when a hose assembly has successfully passed the proof pressure test. This is just to confirm the suitability, that the hose assembly is fit for purpose and that no damages or that no premature failure may occur. Do you have end connections, 1/4 inch high pressure right hand instead of left hand thread? Because there are some nozzles right hand thread. Yes, SPIR STAR offers for certain hose types high pressure fittings or medium pressure fittings with a right hand thread as well. Just get in contact with us and we will quote accordingly. Do you have hoses where a double outer cover is used? Yes, SPIR STAR offers hoses with a double outer cover. These hose types in the catalog are the 86H DC1 double cover, we call it, but also a 13 mm can be available, or the 86UHPX. Do you apply PVC cover to your water jet hoses? What lengths are possible? SPIR STAR offers PVC outer covers for its hoses, either with an additional spiral or with clear PVC cover. These are available for certain hose types and can be applied for length up to 20 meters. Test 3.1 certificate is for free. Test 3.1 certificates are available for a small fee. Just mention it, or just order them along with the hose assembly. I see there are no more questions available. Thank you very much again for your attention, and we would be happy to welcome you to our second part of our online seminar series about waterjet, which will be held in a couple of weeks by my colleague, Patrick Schlappner. Thank you very much.